Alright guys, I want to apologize ahead of time. I'm doing another one of these strange videos where I just film and we talk. I've been really busy, and this is the best way to just get it out. But I want to talk about the new movie. I finally went and saw it, and there's just a few things I wanted to cover. You may be wondering, what are we looking at? You actually get this really cool manga. It's not really a manga book. It's, what would you even call this? More of a guide to characters and stuff like that. It's really cool. Maybe I'll show this off in some other videos. But I want to go over just my thoughts on it. This is kind of a review. I'm going to try my hardest to not give any spoilers, but that will at least explain my thoughts on it. Number one, it had an amazing premise. It had just some great concepts. I don't think this is spoiling anything, but basically the premise is there is a terrorist organization that is bad, okay? And the way they go about that and explain it is fantastic, and I just think it's so cool. Here's the problem, though. It is so good that it is hard to shove it in an hour and a half movie, and it just does not do things justice. I would say that the movie was good for probably the first 5 minutes, and then probably the last 35 to 40 minutes. In between, it just felt, I don't even want to say blah. I was going to say blah, but almost rushed. There is a small, extremely small subplot that isn't even able to be explored simply because you can't do that in the movie's time frame. This movie would have been so much better as a 10 to 12 episode filler arc. Now, I understand that My Hero Academia doesn't really do filler arcs, and I've made arguments before why I wish they did, but it would just really have allowed a lot more to happen. That little subplot would have been able to fit in a couple episodes. There's this kind of, I'm just going to call it a doomsday theory, for lack of better terms, that I just felt like it didn't get enough explanation. And I think that deserves an explanation. You know, I just felt like, man, there was so much more you could do with this film. Just with the concept. For a film, it was cool. But I just feel like it didn't do it justice. It was a really, really cool concept. I would say between this movie and, the one before it, I probably like the second movie. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Guys, I am forgetting the names right now. But the guy with 9, right? His name's 9. The one with the 9 quirks. I think that movie was better executed, but I think this movie had more potential. And, but that's me complaining. Let's be honest. It was really cool, especially the end battle. The end battles are always awesome in almost all anime movies. They're building up for that huge and massive ending. And this one was great. Some of the villains use Trigger. I am a sucker for Trigger. I think Trigger needs to be more involved, and this was sweet. There's just some bad guys that took it, and it took them to the next level, and I thought it was so, so cool. Another thing that was interesting is I felt like there's a little bit more gore in this one, and when I mean gore, I just mean blood. You don't see that a lot in it. Okay, let me backtrack. I feel like due to kind of censorship and stuff with anime since, the Dragon Ball Z era, you don't see as much blood as you used to. In fact, if you were to watch Kai, Dragon Ball Z Kai, and compare it to the original, there is just a lot less blood. And therefore, I think you don't see as much in other animes. And I don't totally understand that. I'm not an anime expert, and I'm definitely not a Japanese expert. And, however, this was not on TV. This was a movie. And therefore, there was, at the end, Deku was bleeding a lot, and I thought it was really good. Like it definitely showed or expressed what it was trying to do, and that was that Deku was in a lot of pain. There was a new, I don't know if you'd call it a main character, secondary character, but the character's name was Rhodey, and in some ways, I think he was a little boring, but at other times, he was like the perfect contrast for Deku. First, one thing I want to point out is there were several scenes in the beginning of the story where, and by the way, this is Rhodey right here, where Rhodey and Deku were kind of like not getting along, and it actually really felt like old school like cartoons. And when I say old school, I'm talking about like Bugs Bunny and stuff. Not that they did stupid things like hit each other with like sledgehammers and then we're still alive, but it felt very, very cartoony. And in some ways that was kind of cool. In some ways that was kind of cute and got this, I just felt like it got some points across. However, as time went on, we found out that Rhodey is really apathetic and he's just kind of waiting what is life going to bring me and how to handle it, where Deku kind of takes, the reins of life and chases after his dreams, where Rhodey's like, there's no sense of having, any kind of dreams because this is just how life has, or what life has handed him. And I felt like it was actually a really cool journey to watch him grow as time went on. In fact, the way they reveal Rhodey's quirk, and I won't explain what it is, I think was really smart and really played well for the story. They could have done it a different way, and it just would have been dumb. And we wouldn't have cared, but they set it up. And they put it in just the right place at just the right time that made it valuable. And so I was just really impressed by that. So, I mean, is the movie worth seeing? Of course. It's My Hero Academia. The movie isn't terrible. I just say there's a good 30 to 40 minutes where it's a little, I don't want to say necessarily boring, but it's just kind of like almost like a buddy rom-com between these two. And that's not terrible. But there were other parts during this that they could have expounded upon if it had been, a filler arc. Now, there was also an animation sequence with all three of these guys. I'm going to leave it at that. And it had massive potential, but it felt like the animation studio just simply didn't get it finished. It was surprising for being an animated, for being a movie. I guess I would have expected this in the anime, but not so much in the movie. And it was rough. So I know this is a really random, crazy transition in the middle of the video. My phone died, and I had to end up changing places. So what I was saying is that there was a crazy fight with these three in it, and it was in the mountains, and they're going back and forth, back and forth. It was really cool because they switched from this character, then to this character, then to this character, and then, all around. But it seemed like faces weren't fully, drawn or animated. Some of Todoroki's ice wasn't looking good. The mountains wasn't looking good. Like it just didn't feel complete, and that was a real bummer. Last thing I want to say before I let you go is I told you about this terrorist group, and they do explain some things about it, but I felt like, man, I would have loved to have known the ins and outs of this terrorist group. Like, why is this such a big deal? And more importantly, how are they getting people on their side? They hint that there's a lot of fear involved, and maybe that's true, but with that, there has to be more depth. And I really felt like that was a missed opportunity. Again, as I've said many times, this would have been way better as a filler arc because there's so much more you could have done with it. And again, like, I love this character. So, like, if they'd done a filler arc, they could have come back to this. Like, hey, one time you do this, and the next time maybe this terrorist group is still in different pockets of the world, so they have to go and do something else. Maybe there's a new leader. And through that, you keep bringing back this character, being able to see him grow more and more. That's what I would have liked to see anyways. Well, guys, what did you think? Did you like the movie? Did you not? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Leave all your thoughts in the comments below. And hey, guys, make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.